What's going on, YouTubers? It's your buddy, it's your pal SpazPhoenix, the YWC Reality Check, with a video that I've been wanting to do for about 2 weeks. I've actually got some time to do it tonight, so of course tonight's the night my internet is down. I'm going to tape this. It's on Sunday. It's the 25th, I think. I don't know when it's going to be up, but hopefully it'll be up sometime before Raw. Anyway, this video, before I get into it, I have to plug two things, because these are the two things that basically inspired me to do this video. One is my boy Alex, Delexman. Check him out. One of the greatest guys here on YouTube, one of the, most respectful guys on YouTube, one of the most insightful guys on YouTube, and well-deservedly enough, one of the most popular guys on YouTube these days, and he deserves it all. Anybody that doesn't know who Delexman is, go check him out. His link will be in the description box below, as will the link to the show that he and I and sometimes other people along the way do on the Wrestling Paradise channel, which will also be down in the description box below. The Wrestling Paradise show that I do with Alex, and sometimes Preston, and sometimes Ross, and sometimes Kara, and sometimes a lot of other people as well. Within YouTube, it's probably one of the most fun things I do in my entire wrestling fan YouTube week. It started off as a podcast. It is now, I don't know, I guess you'd call it a tube cast, because we still do the podcast format and just put it up as an audio file on YouTube. It's a lot of fun, and it gives a lot of chance for me and Alex to collaborate. If you ever go back on this channel, see the collaborations that me and Alex have done, analyzing pay-per-views. We did a big tribute to The Miz, we did a big tribute to Dolph Ziggler, and it led me to believe it. It led me to be so excited when we started doing Wrestling Paradise, because Alex is a great guy to collaborate with. Anybody that listens to the show, I was going to say watches the show, but listens to the show is probably more accurate, knows that recently there's two major bones of contention between me and Alex, and in the grander scheme of things, between me and a lot of the people here in the YWC, where they see things polar opposite to the way I do. And that is the AJ John Cena story and the whole Team Hell No situation. Me personally, I can see with my own eyes and from my own perspective why the John Cena AJ Lee scandal story is necessary. And on the other side of the coin, I think Team Hell No, if it was ever worth anything, has well outlived its usefulness. Whereas most people will be the other way around. And a lot of people might crap on Alex. Well, of course Alex is going to back up, Team Hell No because he's the Daniel Bryan guy. No, he has a different perspective from what I do, and that's perfectly fine. But these are the main two points of contention that have come up every week. So rather than continuing to show up like a jackass on Wrestling Paradise and drag whoever else happens to be on the show down with the argument, I'm going to give the quintessential, the final, the punctuation point of my side of both of these current, WWE elements. And as Alex would say, make a video response, do what you do. I kind of hope that he calls me on the stuff that I'm about to say today. And I invite anybody else that has anything they want to say, put a comment down in the comment section below, make a video response, or like I said before, hashtag do what you do. How do I want to do this? I have notes in front of me. They're sitting in front of me on a clipboard right now. They've been sitting in front of me on a clipboard for about a week now because, like I said, I've really procrastinated doing this video. I'm going to start with the Cena and AJ story, because here's the thing. Anybody that knows me knows that I can't stand John Cena. Now, that hasn't changed. Don't worry. John Cena is still the cancer of WWE. Don't get me wrong. My opinion hasn't changed. The apocalypse has not come. You don't need to put the women and children to bed. My opinions of John Cena have not changed that much. But this is necessary for so many reasons. The story is stupid. I mean, the story is, people say it's a rehashed Claire Lynch and AJ Styles thing. I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think it's very Jerry Springer, and I will agree with anybody that says that. I'm able to overlook the corniness of this story, and I'm able to laugh at it, knowing the good things that come out of it. And here I have listed a couple of the good things that are going to come out of this. First thing I gotta say, you know, John Cena is the golden god, the golden boy of the WWE, whatever, and he dominates the main event scene, and he seems to be indestructible, and he's Superman, and as I've said a million times before, he's the head fixture of the super family, other people being Kelly, Rey Mysterio, Sheamus, etc., etc., etc. We've put two major chinks in John Cena's armor with this story. The one is that three actually, I should say. The one is that he can be humiliated, the other is that he can be humanized, and the other is potentially John Cena's a liar, which is awesome. By humanized, I only mean, like, you know, going out there, being the guy that, you know, tells everybody to take their vitamins, say their prayers, whatever, da-da-da-da. You wouldn't think somebody that's that on that moral plane is thinking about going and getting laid that night, which is interesting, but at the same time, we see now John Cena having this, you know, this everyday element, which is the fact that he's fallen for a girl, which is fine and wonderful. Humanizes him a little bit. He can be humiliated because basically he is at the beck and call of Vicky Guerrero and Dolph Ziggler under the assumption that they might do something bad to AJ. So it gives him a little bit of weakness that way. Not in the ring, but in character, it has given him a little bit of weakness. And the third and most important chink in the John Cena armor right now, this is the guy, you know, hustle, loyalty, and respect, you know, always do the right thing, you know, anything else you can say, really. Like I said before, I use the cliche a lot, but, you know, say your vitamins, you know, eat your vitamins, say your prayers, all the Hulk Hogan superhero crap. And potentially, he got on a microphone for many, many weeks in a row and lied to the rest of the WWE, to the WWE Universe, to the fans that love him, etc. Because we see that while he was saying, no, 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 this is all bullshit, da-da-da-da, he could have been lying the whole time. He could have been bullshitting all of us and slamming AJ up against the wall every Monday night, for all we know. So the potential is there that John Cena has been quite humanized and may even have moral flaws. Now, most people might say, so what? We don't care who he's banging. That's one of Alex's major points, is, you know, we don't care who John Cena is banging. No, we don't necessarily care who John Cena is banging, or if he's going out with AJ, or if they have a relationship, etc., etc., etc. But what it does is it gives him human elements where he was superhuman before, and I like that. Another point, this role, because of the insertion of Vicky Guerrero and her, you know, stirring the pot, took AJ Lee out of the general manager position, which is good, because nobody really liked it, even me. It didn't make any sense for Vince McMahon to look at this girl who acts like a psychotic 12-year-old half the time. Yeah, I'm going to put her in charge of my flagship show. And even when she was in charge, she didn't even really seem like she was in charge. She just came out, announced matches, and skipped along her merry way. It wasn't a good fit. She didn't, you know, stack up to, you know, Shawn Michaels, Eric Bischoff, Vince McMahon himself, Triple H, Paul Heyman, Stephanie McMahon, all those people that have been in charge and have ruled with kind of an iron fist, even Teddy Long to a certain extent. She didn't fit that mold and it didn't work, and the whole psycho thing worked for a little while, didn't work in the long run. So WWE has remedied that by giving her a foil in Vicky Guerrero that was able to take her job away, which is great. Next point, AJ is back in the Divas division. Now, a lot of people might say, so what? But AJ came into the WWE all happy and sparkly and spunky and all that sort of thing, had a couple matches, hooked up with Daniel Bryan, brought herself up into the main event storyline-wise, but never really saw much competition after that. I mean, yeah, she had a couple slapfests with Caitlyn, and, you know, she's had her altercations with Vicky Guerrero on a physical level, but she hasn't been a solid in-ring competitor. Because she's done all this character development, and because, you know, her character has a lot more depth than most of the other divas on the roster, sorry, but it's true, she is somebody I want to see go in there and compete, because, you know, even though she's psycho and might do harm to some people, might do harm to other people and all that sort of thing, she's not right in the head. So she still gets the sympathy that way. So people, fans that follow her anyway, want good things for her, so they'll get behind her in the ring. She's the smallest diva on the roster. You know, she's got the whole underdog Rey Mysterio factor going for her there. People will follow her into matches, and I think that they've just began to scratch the surface of that potential. Another point, this gets major, not that Vicky Guerrero is an in-ring competitor, but this gets major heat behind Vicky Guerrero. Most people say, again, you know, who cares who AJ's banging, who cares who John Cena's banging, you know, they're both single, why is it a scandal, da-da-da-da-da. And that's exactly the point. That's exactly the point. Vicky Guerrero is such a bad person, a bad heel, etc., that she's going to beat these guys, these, you know, seemingly innocent people over the head with this issue that is absolutely nothing, for the purposes of embarrassing them, for the purposes of putting them under a microscope, for the purposes of speculating over every single little inch of their lives. The fact that Vicky Guerrero is trying so hard to make something out of something that is admittedly nothing is the point. So when everybody else says, well, why do we care if John Cena and AJ have done this or done that or whatever, it's not that we should care that they have done, it's we should be frustrated at this point that Vicky Guerrero is trying to make us care that they've done all these things. And because we don't, and because it isn't anything to care about, and because Vicky Guerrero keeps shoving it in our face even though we don't care about it, that is a fantastic heel move. Fantastic. This gets more heat on Dolph Ziggler. He's, you know, not exactly the smallest guy on the roster. He's kind of jacked up. He's kind of, you know, he's very, very great in the ring. He's physically imposing, and what does he do? He goes and picks on, you know, AJ, who's like 95 pounds soaking wet with a brick in her pocket. And everybody, again, is like, oh, well, it doesn't make any sense. Why would he go pick on AJ? He doesn't have any reason to. It's a bully factor. It's another factor of a great heel. You don't need a reason to do something. You do it because you can. You find somebody weaker than you, and you just go and enjoy picking on them because they're weaker than you. It's a fantastic heel building move. It would be like, you know, one of his opponents has a dad in the front row that's got a cane. He's walking with a cane, or he's walking with a crutch or whatever, and he goes and he kicks the crutch. Well, he doesn't have any issue with the guy's dad. His issue is with the guy that he's in the ring with. But he goes and he picks on somebody weaker because he knows he can, and because he's a bad person, he will get enjoyment out of it. The promo that he cut on AJ on Monday when they did the whole locker room scene before he kicked the crap out of John Cena, which was fan-fucking-tastic, wasn't necessarily what he said, even though what he said was great. It wasn't the fact that everything he said was absolutely true and you could tell cut AJ's heart in half. It was the fact that while he was cutting her heart in half, you could tell he enjoyed it. And he had no reason to enjoy it other than, you're weaker than me and I can. That is great heel heat. Next, not the greatest thing in the world, but another intriguing factor. Somebody we've wished would come up from NXT for a while is Tamina. And Tamina is now going to be playing this sort of bodyguard role for Vicky Guerrero. So Vicky Guerrero's bodyguard, Tamina, is going to go head-to-head with AJ, who's debatably the main event diva on Raw, even though she hasn't had very many matches, which is funny in and of itself. But it'll be a great way for AJ to go in as this, you know, underdog babyface with all the fan support and fan sympathy behind her, and for Tamina to come in as a heel and just beat the crap out of this girl that's like half her size will get her tremendous heel heat, so she can go off and do whatever, and they can both have their spots competitively on the Raw Divas roster. It's great. They have done, even though they're still sort of running hand in hand, Dolph Ziggler has said, since Vicky Guerrero became the general manager of Raw, that she is no longer his manager. We've seen him go for matches on SmackDown. We've seen him go for matches on WWE Main Event. His match this past week on Main Event with The Miz was a prime example. Also, if you haven't seen the match, go check it out. It's a fucking fantastic match in general. But she's not with him at his matches. She's not escorting him to the ring. She's not introducing him down to the ring for his matches as much. For the scandal story, yeah, they're still arm in arm because, you know, it's the two of them against AJ and Cena, so it still makes sense. But as far as his competitive role, his competitive segments on the show, he's pulling away from Vicky Guerrero, which is something we've all wanted for a very, very long time. Now, because they're picking on AJ so much, and John Cena is still going to do the John Cena thing, be the knight in shining armor, etc., John Cena and Ziggler are face-to-face. Now, a lot of people that are really, really excited about Dolph Ziggler and the great year that he's had, etc., will say, well, John Cena is just going to squash him, so why does it matter? It matters because it's John Cena. It's John Cena. First of all, there's not a lot of people that have been able to stand in the same realm as John Cena, and most of them are those guys that kind of exist above the rest of the roster. The Brock Lesnars, the Rocks, the CM Punk is getting there. And God help me if we ever go down the road of Cena versus Undertaker. I don't want to even talk about it. But Ziggler is now in that role. He's stepping up into that limelight. And even if he gets totally destroyed by Cena at the pay-per-view, when they actually have a match, etc., whatever happens with John Cena in the WWE gets replayed ad nauseum, which means exposure for Dolph Ziggler. Dolph Ziggler, even if he loses, is going to absorb the Cena spotlight, because if you show Cena footage over and over and over and over and over again, then whoever Cena is in the footage with, in this case Dolph Ziggler, is going to be shown over and over and over and over again. That's exposure that you wouldn't get, I'm sorry, against any other superstar. It turns my stomach to admit that John Cena does have some positive qualities to having a match with him, but in this case it's absolutely true. And at least in the short term, he's going in as a heel. He's taking all his cheap shots. So right now, if you sort of took a tally of who's got their shots in on who, you know, it's always Dolph Ziggler getting the shot in, because Cena's too busy, you know, trying to defend AJ, trying to tell off Vicky Guerrero, because, you know, that's not going anywhere. Look at this week. John Cena was so much in a rush to defend AJ, so much in a rush to chase off whoever might pick on her, that he jerked his knee around running up the ramp after Ziggler. Then AJ starts her thing with Ziggler, and now we have Dolph Ziggler not only taking out John Cena at the knee, but plowing him through the wall of the bathroom and making him look like an idiot on Miz TV at the beginning of SmackDown. I could add in the fact that at the end of SmackDown, John Cena's actually shown some real aggression for once, and it took Dolph Ziggler to bring that out of him, but that's a minor point for another time. Yeah, at the moment, Ziggler has the upper hand on Cena, and while Ziggler is using Cena to step up, Ziggler is pulling John Cena down into what most people would consider to be a second-tier or mid-card feud, even though we know that if they fight at the pay-per-view, which I'm pretty sure they're going to, it will be probably the main event. Now, the very last thing I will say about the AJ John Cena scandal, which is working in our favor, if you overlook CM Punk, which I'm not going to do, I know that's a heavy, heavy statement. 1 year as WWE Champion, I'm as ecstatic as the rest of you. Don't get me wrong. But if you put CM Punk aside for a second, who's the biggest emerging star this year in the WWE on Raw? Has to be Dolph Ziggler. Started off the year with a title match against CM Punk, which, if it wasn't for bad booking, could have been one of the main matches of the year. Then went back and spent a good 20 minutes or so in the Rumble match itself. Was a superstar in the Elimination Chamber. Managed to stand out among 20 other people in a bullshit tag match at WrestleMania. Sold the hell out of a lot of new guys. Tried to give Jack Swagger some stability. Has had on-again, off-again great feud with Randy Orton, who's another big name in the WWE. Kayfabe-wise, retired Chris Jericho. Yes, we know he's going to come back. We know it's storyline. We know he's gone to do Fozzy, and he'll come back whenever he feels like it. But in the story, he took Jericho to task at SummerSlam and retired him the next night on Raw. That's a hell of a year so far. How good will it be? Because this is what I've heard. This is what I've heard. The rumor is, even if he doesn't win, have him go into TLC. What I've heard is that he's going to have a TLC match with John Cena, and that'll be what ends off his year. So everything else that I just mentioned, all the credentials he's established for himself this year. Oh, and by the way, he's also Mr. Money in the Bank. Ex-US champion, ex-World Heavyweight champion for a couple of minutes, etc. No greater way to cap off the year than to be at the last pay-per-view of the year in TLC, which is a very popular match type, against the Golden Boy. Now, am I going to say that he's going to win? Probably not. But it's still a high caliber, high marquee way to cap off what has been a great year for Dolph Ziggler. And I'm sorry, if we get to that point and if we get to that match and God help us if he actually wins. I'm sorry, I'm not going to nitpick, and I'm not going to care how we got there. It's going to do great things for Dolph Ziggler. So AJ's back where she needs to be. Ziggler is where he needs to be. Cena's been brought down to where he needs to be. Vicky Guerrero is annoying no matter where she goes. There's a lot of pluses. They're even bringing Tamina up off of NXT back onto Raw where she belongs. There's a lot of plus to this story, and if the only thing you can say about the story is, it's a bit goofy, it's a bit stupid, look at all the pluses we're getting out of it. Now, that's it, guys. Like I say, Alex or anybody else, put your thoughts in the description box below. Make me a video response. I encourage it. Guys, it's been a long time since I've gotten a video response that wasn't just, people trolling and whatever. So if you want to make me a video response, hell, make me 2 video responses. Hell, if you guys all think I'm batshit crazy and out of my mind, all of you, come in. I'm inviting you. Gang up on me. Send me a plethora, friggin' just absolutely gang rush my response video area. Conversation is key. I'm just putting out my point of view. Now, why am I so sick of Team Hell No? Why do I see this as only doing bad things for everybody? Not just the tag division. I'm going to talk mostly about the tag team division in this part of the video, but it's just not doing any good for anybody. First of all, Daniel Bryan deserves to be in the main event. He had a really shit run with the World Heavyweight Championship, if I'm completely honest, where he wasn't ever treated properly. He had a semi-decent run with CM Punk over the WWE Championship, which once Kane got thrown in, the waters got a little muddy, but when it was just the two of them, it was a great run of matches. He deserves to be on that caliber of a stage. It's as simple as that. What he's doing right now is he's being a goofball, and it's getting to the point where his character and the way they're portraying him right now is demeaning to the talent that he is in the ring. I've said it to a lot of people in a lot of separate conversations. Daniel Bryan in the ring has got to be one of the top 3 guys in the WWE right now. Character-wise, he's bordering on Santino Marella level, and that's fucking sad. Same thing can be said for Kane. Kane needs to be a monster. When Kane is a destructive wrecking ball of a force, he's awesome to watch. When he's anything else, I mean, let's go back to something like, the Kane-a-Rooney. Yeah, just go back in history and remember that happened. Kane needs to be indestructible. All these new flash-in-the-pan guys like Brodus Clay, like Tensai, like Ryback, oh my lord. The way they're booking these new guys and trying to shove them down our throats as powerhouse guys and as indestructible forces is how Kane has spent the last, I don't know how many years, deserving to look. And it's not right. And the fact that he's a comedy character. Yes, it was funny in the short term. Yes, it was, shock and awe value to get people talking. Hey, this demented monster is actually kind of funny as well. I said it. I thought it was funny in the short term, but now it's just fucking old. Just saying. Daniel Bryan, once again, is in a role that he should never be. He's just there to fill in the blank. And when I say fill in the blank, I'm not a fan of mashed up teams. You guys know this. How many people has... not The Undertaker. How many people has Kane tag teamed with in his career? X-Pac, The Hurricane, Rob Van Dam, I think Booker T at one point. He was absorbed into DX. He had that weird thing with Terry. He's teamed with The Big Show. He's teamed with The Undertaker, which admittedly is really, really cool when they do the whole Brothers of Destruction thing. But I mean, it's just like... So, a successful tag team involving Kane is now Kane and fill in the blank. And I'm sorry, a talent like Daniel Bryan deserves to be more than the guy that's filling in a blank. Moving on. To go along with that, they're booking it to look like Daniel Bryan is the weak link, and that's fucking disgusting. Enough said. When these two got together, it started WWE on a trend that I hate, which is the trend of the mashed up tag teams. Tag teams that I cannot get invested in because I know they're made to self-destruct. Cody Rhodes and Damian Sandow, they work well together. Yes, absolutely. But they're strong enough singles competitors that I know that team isn't going to last. The writing is already on the wall for Rey Mysterio versus Sin Cara at WrestleMania. That team's not going to last. Kane and Daniel Bryan, they're not even hiding it from you. They haven't worked since day one. Whatever. But what happens with that is you make these mashed up tag teams out of high mid-carders or main eventers, and it just pushes any legitimate team like the Usos, like Primo and Epico, like the Ascension, like Primetime Players and whatever, the guys that actually showed up on the scene as a tag team with the purpose of being a tag team, it pushes them so far down because the tag team titles are not being used to represent tag team wrestling. The tag team titles are being used and being bastardized to pursue individual stories, to build individual stars, and that's not right. And that's why, even though there's a lot more tag team wrestling happening in the WWE right now, if somebody tells me that the tag team division is growing, I say, yeah, it's growing on NXT, which is sad. I just said that the main eventers are burying the real tag teams. Main eventers in tag team matches make the tag team matches boring. And here's where I'm going to draw an even finer point. Team Hell No, because they are WWE's latest big idea, the biggest flash in the pan, etc. Team Hell No are becoming the John Cenas of the tag team division, because you put them in a match with anybody, you know they're not going to lose. You know that whoever's in the ring with them is going to end up looking stupid, and it's going to be a glorified squash match, because Daniel Bryan and Kane are Daniel Bryan and Kane, and rightfully so. They're both multi-time former world champions and fantastic talents. They should go over mid-card guys, but that's exactly why they shouldn't be in the tag team division. Moving on. Dysfunctional teams winning make the opposition look weak. Yes. Again, I will say, former world champions are going to beat non-former world champions. But for the casual fan to look at a team that the WWE will try to push eventually, like I think they're trying to push the Primetime Players, like I hope they push the Usos, Primo and Epico, etc. You look at these guys, and they're like, yeah, you've got a pretty impressive team that you're going against, but they don't even get along, and you're going to tell me you still couldn't beat them? It makes them look exceptionally weak. The booking makes them look weak. The fact that they can't beat a dysfunctional team makes them look weak. So yeah, you have one kind of cool, decent tag team, whatever, that's holding the tag team belts and supposedly putting focus on them. But you know what? If the champions bury the rest of the division, I'm sorry to tell you, there is no division. And the last thing I'm going to say, and here's the thing, putting the focus on the tag team titles, they won, kayfabe-wise, booking-wise, I understand. But they won the tag team titles basically by accident. Basically, they were fighting each other and they managed to trip and fall into victory and won the tag team belts. Not only that, that is how they retained for about the first 5 title defenses that they had. So if the tag team championships are so useless and so meaningless that you can not only win but defend them by accident, it makes the titles look worthless, it makes your opponents look fucking pathetic, and it makes for no investment. This is a team that I know is going to be broken up before the end of the year. I'm willing to bet. At the very least before WrestleMania, because you know Daniel Bryan versus Kane is probably another match that's going to happen at WrestleMania, along with Sin Cara versus Rey Mysterio. But when they leave, when all these main eventers that have been smashed up into tag teams actually go off and become main eventers, and it's left to the actual tag teams again, and nobody gives a shit about tag team wrestling, they're going to say, look, well, we shouldn't focus on tag team wrestling because people still don't give a shit. People still don't give a shit because WWE has not let the actual WWE tag teams, I'm a traditionalist, so I'm going to say the traditional definition of an actual tag team, WWE has never given us a chance to care. If you watch the Usos, if you watch the Ascension, Primo and Epico, even a team like Kid and Gabriel, because yeah, they're mashed up, but they're trying to develop a team dynamic. Even a team like Rey Mysterio and Sin Cara, who, yes, they're mashed up, but they're trying to develop an actual team dynamic. It's just not going to matter. Because right now WWE is trying to say that the tag team titles matter because former world champions have held them. Daniel Bryan and Kane. Great stars individually. I'm not invested in them as a tag team, therefore I can't be invested in them as tag team champions, which means I'm not invested in the championship, which means I can't be invested in the division. And that means, to me, bottom line, that they are killing the tag team division, not saving it. That's all I've got. I've rambled on for a half hour now. I hope I haven't stepped on too many toes. I hope to get a lot of responses out of this, to be quite honest, because I know a lot of you out there don't agree with me. This is my 2 cents, for what it's worth. It's late, I'm tired, I'm done. I'm SpazPhoenix, I've been your YWC Reality Check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation, keep this conversation, throw me those responses, don't be a stranger. I will talk to each and every last one of you later, but for right now, I am tagging out. Bye, guys.
Getting up, you're locking down.